The night they threw me out, it was snowing in Denver, and the alpha I had loved for 6 years stood on the porch holding another Omega's hand like he had never held mine. I did not cry. I am too petty for that. I stood barefoot on the icy step, my suitcase tilted in the slush, and I looked at Cameron Hale the way you look at a man who just informed you the milk in the fridge was expired. Mild disappointment, slight nausea. You said forever, I said. I said a lot of things, Eli. That was the thing about Cameron. He could break your ribs and make it sound like a weather report. The other Omega behind him had the decency to look uncomfortable at least. Pale, blonde, expensive coat. Cameron's scent was already wrapped around him like a borrowed sweater. My nose caught it and my stomach dropped. And I told my stomach to grow up because we had bigger problems. My stuff, I said. You can come back for it. I can come back for it, I repeated, soft, almost amused. Cam, you're holding my house key in your other hand. He looked down. He had not realized. That was when I knew. Not when he kissed someone else at the pack winter dinner 3 nights ago. Not when I caught his scent on a coat that wasn't mine. Right then. When he forgot he was still holding the key to a door he had already locked me out of. I held out my palm. He dropped the key in it like he was tipping a waiter. I closed my fingers around the metal, and that was my first mistake of the night, because the second my skin met the brass, the world tipped sideways. Psychometry is a quiet superpower. Most Omegas in our pack got something flashy. Healing touch. Scent masking. My cousin could literally start a small kitchen fire with her feelings. Me, I touched things and saw their history. Boring at parties. Useful in a crisis. The key showed me everything. Cameron's hand turning it in the lock 3 weeks ago while I was at work. The blonde Omega laughing in our kitchen. Cameron's voice low and easy. He doesn't suspect a thing. He's too busy being grateful. Grateful. I came back to myself on the porch, snow sticking to my eyelashes, and I smiled at him. I made sure it was a good smile, the kind that costs money. Grateful, I said. He blinked. What? Nothing. I tucked the key into my pocket. Souvenir. Eli, don't make this dramatic. Cam, I said, I am standing in 2 inches of snow in socks. The drama already happened. You're just catching up. I picked up my suitcase. The wheel was busted. Of course it was. I dragged it down the steps, and the new Omega finally spoke, in this small, worried voice, like he was the one being abandoned. He really did love you, you know. I stopped. I turned. I looked at him for a long second, and then I laughed, because what else are you supposed to do? Sweetheart, I said, if that's love, I hope you have good insurance. I walked. I did not look back. Looking back is for people who think the door might still open, and I had just held the key in my hand long enough to know exactly when it had closed. The snow ate my footprints behind me before I made it to the end of the block. I made it 3 streets before my knees decided they had opinions. I sat down on a frozen bus bench outside a closed diner called Maggie's, and I stared at the neon sign flickering in the window. And for one ugly second, I let myself feel it. 6 years. 6 years of pretending his moods were weather I could dress for. 6 years of being the calm one, the funny one, the Omega who didn't ask too much. Grateful. He had said grateful. My scent was leaking. I could smell it on myself. Sad citrus, the way Omegas smell when something's been pulled out of us by the root. I pressed my wrist against my mouth and bit down, and I told myself out loud in the empty street, Eli Park, you are not crying outside a diner. You have standards. Then a black car pulled up across the street, and the back window rolled down, and a man I had never seen before in my life looked at me like he had been looking for me his whole life. He was beautiful in the way buildings are beautiful. Sharp lines, cold money, the kind of alpha who walks into a room and the temperature adjusts to him instead of the other way around. His scent hit me a half-second later, through the open window, across the snow, and my whole body went still. I knew that scent. I had never met him, never seen his face, never spoken his name, and somehow my bones knew that scent the way you know your own handwriting. He didn't smile. He didn't say hello. He just looked at me, slow, careful, like he was reading a page he had read before in a different life. And then he said, quiet enough that the snow almost ate it. 2 words, 3 syllables. My whole nervous system filed for early retirement. I stayed on the bench because my knees were still negotiating with gravity. The stranger watched me from the back seat of the car, snow drifting between us in slow, loose flakes, and his scent kept doing this thing where it slipped under my coat like it owned the lease. Cedar. Something darker under the cedar. Smoke after a fire goes out. My second mistake of the night was breathing through my nose. Sir, I said, polite as a hostess at a restaurant I could not afford, I am going to need you to roll that window back up before my Omega instincts file a complaint with HR. He almost smiled. Almost. The corner of his mouth lifted maybe a 1/16 of an inch. In a face that controlled, it was practically a parade. You're freezing, he said. I'm Coloradan. We're born freezing. You're shaking. That is artistic shivering. He looked at me a beat longer. He had eyes the color of wet stone, the kind that don't blink as often as they should. I have met intense alphas before. Cameron used to do this whole brooding thing in the bathroom mirror. This was different. This was a man who was not performing for me. He was simply looking, the way you look at a number you've been writing down for years and finally got to see in person. Get in the car, Eli. My spine went straight. Excuse me, I said, sweet as battery acid. I do not remember handing you my name with a complimentary side of trust. You didn't. Then how? Later. Sir. I stood up. My suitcase wheel made a noise like a dying squirrel. 2 minutes ago, I got dumped on a porch by a man who couldn't remember he still had my house key. I am running on heartbreak, low blood sugar, and pure spite. I am not getting in a strange car because you have cheekbones and a vocabulary. He blinked. Just once. Slow. You think I have cheekbones? That is what you took from that sentence. That is the part that was true. I opened my mouth. I closed it. My face did a treasonous thing where it got warm in a city that was 20 degrees. He stepped out of the car. He was tall. Of course he was tall. The universe had clearly checked a list. Black coat, black gloves, no scarf. Like the cold was a rumor he hadn't subscribed to. He came around the front of the car slow enough that I could have run if my body wasn't currently betraying me on a cellular level. His scent doubled when he got closer. My knees did not appreciate it. He stopped a careful 3 feet away. Not alpha close, polite close. The distance of a man who knew what his own gravity did to people. My name is Wesley Knox, he said. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to pressure you. There is a hotel 4 blocks from here. I own it. You can have a room. You can lock the door. You will never see me again if that is what you want. That is a lot of words to say, come home with me. It is a lot of words to say you are not sleeping on a bench. I crossed my arms. The cold had moved past my coat and was filing taxes inside my ribs. Why do you care? He hesitated. That was the part that got me. Not the offer, not the scent, the hesitation. Like the answer hurt to hold. I owe you something, he said finally. You don't know me. I know. You just said my name. I know. Wesley. I tilted my head. If this is a kidnapping, it is the worst paced one I have ever seen. Eli. Yes. Get in the car. No. He looked at me for another long second. Then he did something I did not see coming. He took off one glove, slow, deliberate. He held his bare hand out, palm up, between us, like an offering. You read things, he said quietly. Don't you? The world stopped. Nobody knew about my psychometry, not Cameron, not my own pack. I had spent 8 years pretending I was a low-tier Omega with no notable gift, because in our hierarchy, Omegas with strong powers got collected like rare stamps, and I wanted to be left alone. 8 years. And this man had pulled it out of me with one sentence in the snow. My throat went dry. Touch my hand, he said. If you don't see anything you trust, walk away. I won't follow. I should have walked. I should have made a joke. I should have told him my superpower was disappointing men and reading the energy off vending machines. Instead, I reached out. His palm was warm, stupid, ridiculous warm in all that cold. The second my fingertips brushed his skin, the world tipped, the way it had with Cameron's key. But this was not the same shape of vision at all. I saw a hospital corridor. I saw a younger Wesley, maybe 20, standing outside a glass window with his hand pressed flat against it. I saw a small Omega curled on a bed inside. Dark hair, hospital gown too big, IV in his arm. I saw myself. I was 11 years old in that bed. I had no memory of this. None. I had never been in that hospital. I had never seen this man before in my life. But there I was behind the glass, and there he was on the other side, and his mouth was moving like he was saying a name through a window that would not open. I ripped my hand back so hard I almost fell. Wesley did not move. He just stood there with his palms still up, snow gathering on his bare skin, watching my face the way a man watches a verdict. "What did you see?" he said. I could not breathe. "Eli, who are you?" He let his hand drop, slow, careful, like he was lowering something fragile back into a box. "That," he said, "is the part you are not going to like." I laughed. It came out wrong. Too high, too thin. The kind of laugh that means a person is about 30 seconds from either crying or committing a misdemeanor. "Wesley," I held up a finger. "Stop talking. Stop existing in a coat that nice. Take a step back, please." He took a step back. Polite, annoying. I sat down on the bench again because my legs were a democracy and the vote was unanimous. The image was still burning behind my eyes. 11-year-old me in a hospital bed I did not remember being in. A version of Wesley too young to be standing this still. A name shaped on his lips through glass. I have a rule about visions. I do not panic in front of strangers. Panic is for the shower. I tilted my head up at him. "Okay, hi. New plan. You are going to back up another 2 feet. I am going to ask 3 questions. You are going to answer them like a man who knows his life is in the hands of an Omega with cold feet and zero patience." "Okay." Question 1. Are you a stalker? No. Question 2. Are you a stalker who would say no to that question? The corner of his mouth did the 1/16 of an inch thing again. Possibly. Wesley. I am not stalking you, Eli. Question 3. I narrowed my eyes. Did you pay someone to dump me tonight so you could swoop in like a sad billionaire in a car commercial? That one landed. He did not laugh. He did not flinch. He did something worse. He looked tired. The kind of tired that does not come from a bad week. The kind that lives in a man's bones for years. "No," he said. "I did not pay anyone. I have been looking for you for 11 years. Tonight is the first night I have been certain it was you." I opened my mouth. I closed it. I opened it again, because I am not a quitter. "Sir, that is not a less alarming answer than yes." "I know. You know. I have had time to think about how it sounds." I stared at him. The snow was thickening. His hair was getting white at the edges, and he still wasn't shivering. I hated him a little for that. I hated him a lot for the way his scent was sitting at the back of my throat like a song I almost recognized. A truck went by on the cross street, slush hissing under the tires. Somewhere a dog was barking at the weather. I pulled my coat tighter and reminded my body that it was on probation. "Wesley." "Yes. I just got dumped, like less than an hour ago, by the man I thought I was going to mate. He gave my house key to another Omega and called me grateful. I am running on fumes and one granola bar I had at lunch. Whatever this is, whatever you think you owe me, I cannot do it tonight. I can't. I know. Stop saying you know. I do, though." I dropped my head into my hands, not crying, negotiating with my own face. "Eli." "What?" "Hotel room. Door locks from the inside. There is a kitchen on the floor. I will tell the front desk you are a guest under any name you want. You can leave in the morning. You can leave in an hour. You can leave in 5 minutes if the lobby smells weird to you." I peeked up through my fingers. "What's the catch?" "There isn't one. There is always a catch." "Then the catch is that I am asking, and you are saying yes, and I am going to spend the rest of the night in a different building, wondering if you ate. Reader, I am made of stone. I am unmovable. I am a fortress." My traitor of a stomach growled. Wesley heard it. Of course he heard it. Alpha hearing is rude. "Get in the car," he said again. Softer this time, and there was something in his voice that was not command. It was almost a please, an alpha who knew how to ask. I had never met one of those before. I stood up. My knees made a sound I did not authorize. If you try anything, as I said, I will read every object in your car and tell your driver your worst memory in alphabetical order. Understood. I am serious. I will start with the glove compartment. Eli. What? Get in the car. I got in the car. The interior was warm in a way that felt illegal. Heated seats, real leather, soft from age, not the cheap kind that squeaks. I held my hands away from the door handle on principle, because if I started reading the car, I might never stop. And tonight my brain was a colander. Wesley slid in across from me. He left a careful gap between us. Not alpha far, not alpha close. Just enough that I could pretend his scent was not curling into my coat. The driver pulled away from the curb. The bench disappeared behind us in the snow. Wesley. Yes. The hospital. In the vision. Why was I there? He looked out the window. His jaw moved once, a small swallow, like he was deciding which true thing to give me first. Because somebody tried to kill you, he said, and I am the reason you survived. I went very still. The car kept moving. The city kept blurring. My heartbeat kept going, which was generous of it. I had spent 26 years thinking I was a regular Omega from a regular pack with a regular childhood. I just could not remember in much detail. Apparently, I had been wrong about all three. Wesley. Yes. Drive faster. The driver, bless him, did not. He was an older beta with a gray beard and the deeply unimpressed posture of a man who had clearly heard worse demands from the back seat. He glanced once in the rear view, made eye contact with Wesley, and continued at a perfectly legal Colorado snow speed. Ron does not negotiate with weather, Wesley said. Ron is a coward. Ron has been driving me since I was 17. Ron is a legend. Ron, I take it back. Ron, I love you. Ron did not respond. Ron's shoulders lifted in what might have been amusement or possibly a deep, unionized sigh. I leaned back into the seat and tried to make my face do something that resembled a person in control of his evening. The leather was so soft it felt judgmental. My suitcase sat between my ankles with its broken wheel, looking small and pathetic and very mine. Wesley had not moved. Same careful gap, hands on his own knees, gloves in his lap, eyes on the window like he was giving me physical privacy in a moving box. I did not appreciate how considerate that was. I was busy. Wesley. Yes. You said somebody tried to kill me. Yes. You said you are the reason I survived. Yes. You are aware those two sentences come with follow-up questions. I am. You are not answering them. I will. Not in a car, not on an empty stomach, not while you are still wearing wet socks. I looked down. My socks were, in fact, wet. They had been wet for so long they had gone past wet into a weird zen state of damp. Stop noticing things about me. Okay. I mean it. I'll try. He said it so flat, not flirty, not a line, just a man making a small, impossible promise. My stomach did a thing it had no business doing. The car turned. The city slid past in soft, long streaks of light. We passed a gas station, a closed flower shop with a hand-painted sign, a bar where two men were laughing under the awning, a whole world where nobody had been told they almost died at 11. I pressed my palm flat to the window and made a decision. Wesley, yes, I am going to read this car. Okay. Do not say okay like that. You sound like a man who has nothing to hide, and I find that suspicious. He almost smiled again. I was keeping count. We were at 3 near smiles for the night. I would graph it later. I closed my eyes and let my hands sink into the door panel, the leather, the seat under me. Most people think psychometry is dramatic. It isn't. It feels like opening a drawer in your own house and finding a year you forgot. The car gave me everything at once. 100 quiet drives, Ron at the wheel through different weather, Wesley in the back at 16, knees too long for the seat, reading a hardcover book with the dust jacket peeled off. Wesley at 20 in a black suit, jaw clenched, phone pressed to his ear saying, I do not care what it costs, find him. Wesley at 25, alone, looking out a window very much like this one, saying nothing at all, and then faint, barely a whisper in the leather, a piece of a memory not from him. A small voice, a child's voice, mine. Mister, are you my brother? I yanked my hand back like the door had teeth. Wesley turned his head slow. What did you see? I could not get my mouth around the question. I tried. My jaw moved. Nothing came. Eli, you looked for me. Yes. For years. Yes. I asked you something in that hospital before. He went very still. What did you see, Eli? I shook my head. Not no. More like a person trying to settle a snow globe inside his skull. I asked you, I said, if you were my brother. Wesley closed his eyes, just for a second, like a man hearing a song he had not let himself hum in a long time. I am not your brother, he said. Okay, I want you to be very clear on that. I am clear. I am extremely clear. Why are you saying it like a man swearing on a Bible? Because you are about to ask me what I am to you, and I am not going to answer that in a car, in front of Ron, while you are wearing wet socks. Wesley, yes. I would like to lodge a formal complaint about the wet sock thing. It is not relevant. Stop using it as a deflection. Noted. The car turned again. A glass tower came into view, all clean lines and gold light. The kind of building where the lobby had a concierge and the elevators had opinions. Wesley did not look at it. He was still looking at me. His scent had shifted, cedar going warmer, smoke catching at the edges. An alpha scent does not lie the way a face does. He was nervous. Big, careful billionaire Wesley Knox was nervous in a moving car, and he did not want me to know. I knew anyway. Hotel, I said, just to give my mouth something to do. Hotel. Separate floors. Separate buildings if you want. Wesley, yes. I am going to eat a very expensive sandwich on your dime tonight, and then I am going to lock a door, and tomorrow morning you are going to tell me everything. Names, years. Why I do not remember a hospital I was apparently almost murdered in. Who tried? Who paid? All of it. All of it. Swear. He turned his palm up between us again. Bare. No glove. An offering. Smaller this time. I did not touch it. I just looked at it for a long second, at the shape of a hand that had been at a window when I was 11 years old. And I felt the first crack run down the wall I had spent 6 years building around the word grateful. The car pulled to a stop under the gold lights. A doorman stepped forward in a long coat the color of black coffee. He did not look surprised to see Wesley. He looked surprised to see me. I cannot blame him. I was a wet sock in a wool coat with a suitcase the size of a sad dog. Wesley got out first. He did not extend a hand to me. He did not make a show of opening my door. Ron did that with a small nod, and Wesley waited a polite 5 steps away on the sidewalk. Gloves back on, watching me find my own balance on the icy curb. I appreciated that more than I wanted to. Cameron used to grab my elbow in public. He called it taking care of me. It was steering. I knew the difference now, the way you know the difference between a hand and a leash. Lobby, Wesley said, soft, gesturing forward. Lobby, I agreed. The hotel doors slid open, and a wall of warm air hit my face like an apology. Marble floor, a small black piano nobody was playing, a fireplace that was actually working, with logs that smelled like real wood, not the chemical kind. My nose, which had been on strike for an hour, came back online and started filing reports. Cedar, smoke. Wesley standing 4 feet behind me, breathing slow on purpose. The concierge straightened when she saw him. Late 20s, sharp blazer, pin in her lapel shaped like a small key. Mr. Knox, penthouse floor for my guest, whatever name he wants on the registry. Full kitchen access, no questions, no calls connected to the room. He is not to be disturbed. She did not blink. Professional. Name, sir? I looked at her. I looked at Wesley. I considered 7 different aliases. I considered making one up. My brain offered Beyoncé. My brain was not helpful tonight. Eli Park, I said. because I was tired, and the truth was the lightest thing I was carrying. "Welcome, Mr. Park." She slid a slim black key card across the marble. "Floor 20. The elevator will recognize the card. There is a pantry stocked. If you need anything, the line is 1. Just 1. "Thank you," I said, and meant it. I took the card. My fingers brushed the marble counter for half a second on the way back, and the building gave me a small flash, the way old buildings do. A flicker of a Wesley I had not met yet, standing at the same counter, rain on his coat, asking the night clerk in a low voice, "Has anyone matching that description checked in tonight? Anywhere in the city, any of my properties?" The night clerk in the vision shaking her head, Wesley walking back out into the rain. I lifted my fingers off the marble and tucked the card into my coat pocket like nothing had happened. My face did not move. I had years of practice not letting my face move. He had not been kidding. He had been looking for me for a long time, in hotels, in rain, in other cities. I turned to him. "Wesley." "Yes." "Come up." His eyebrows did a thing, not quite surprise. More like a man bracing for a punch he had agreed to take. "Eli, not for that." I rolled my eyes so hard I gave myself a small headache. "Sir, please. I have been dumped for approximately 90 minutes. My libido is in witness protection. Come up so you can answer the questions you said you would not answer in the car. The car is gone. There is no Ron. There is no wet sock argument. Talk." He hesitated. The hesitation was the tell. Again. "Okay," he said. We rode the elevator in silence. I watched our reflection in the brass doors. He was a foot taller than me, and his coat was dry and mine was not. And we looked, together, exactly like what we were. A wreck of an Omega and a man holding too many secrets in a body too still to hide them. The room was a soft blow to the chest. Big windows, a city full of falling snow. A kitchen that probably had a bread maker in a drawer somewhere because rich people own bread makers and never use them. I dropped my suitcase by the door, walked to the window, and put my forehead on the cold glass because my body did not know what else to do. Wesley stayed by the door. Coat still on. He had not taken a step inside. "Sit," I said without turning. "I am okay standing." "Wesley, sit. You look like a man about to give a eulogy." He sat. Edge of the couch. Knees apart. Hands clasped between them. He looked suddenly much younger than he had on the sidewalk. I took a breath. The window was cold against my forehead. The city was kind enough not to look back at me. "You were at that window," I said. "In the hospital. You were saying a name through the glass. I could not hear it. Tell me whose name." Silence. "Wesley?" "It was your brother's." I turned around so fast my coat made a noise. "My what?" "You had a brother." His voice was careful, the kind of careful you use around something that might shatter. "His name was Jamie Park. He was 8. He died the night you were brought into that hospital. You were both attacked. You survived. He did not. The reason you do not remember any of it is because your mother had your memory wiped by an Omega specialist 3 weeks after you woke up. She told you Jamie never existed. She told you the scar on your shoulder was from a bike accident. She told you a lot of things, Eli." I sat down on the floor. I did not decide to. My body just did it. A brother. I had a brother. I had a brother, and I had been an only child for 26 years. And somewhere in my mind, a small voice said, Jamie and I did not know if I was remembering or inventing. "Wesley." "Yes." "Why did she do that?" He looked at me. His eyes were very tired and very sorry, and not a single bit performative. "Because the person who tried to kill you that night," he said, "was your father." The carpet under me was very soft. I noticed that because my brain was not allowed to notice anything bigger. Plush. Cream. The kind of carpet rich people pick because their feet have never known consequences. I sat with my legs folded sideways and my hands flat on it, and I said, calm as a weather forecast, "Wesley." "Yes." "I am going to need you to come over here, but slow like a man approaching a feral cat, because if you move fast, my soul is going to leave my body, and you will be left explaining to housekeeping why there is an omega-shaped vapor on your ceiling." He stood up. He came over. Slow. So slow it should have been funny. He did not crouch in front of me. He did not loom. He sat down on the floor across from me, with his coat still on, his back against the foot of the couch, and he put his hands palm down on his own knees so I could see them. He did not touch me. He did not even reach. He just sat in my line of sight like a person. "Okay," he said, "I'm here." I stared at him. "You said my father." "Yes, I have a father. His name is Daniel Park. He sells insurance. He has a mustache. He once cried at a Pixar movie." "Yes. That is not the man who attacked me." "No. Wesley, Daniel Park is your stepfather. Your mother married him 8 months after she had your memory wiped. You were 12. You took his name." I laughed. It was not a good laugh. It was the laugh of a person whose entire life had just been handed back to him with a different label on the front. "Sir?" "Yes. I'm about to ask you a question, and I need you to not be poetic about it. Yes or no answers only. No careful billionaire pauses. Got it?" "Got it." "Did you know my real father?" "Yes." "Was he in your life?" "He was my father's business partner." "Did your family know what he was doing?" "My father suspected. He could not prove it. He died trying." I closed my eyes. The room kept on existing without my permission. The radiator ticked. Snow tapped the window like a small, polite animal asking to come in. Somewhere 20 floors below, a car horn went off and got swallowed by the city. A brother named Jamie. A father who had hands I did not remember. A mother who loved me enough to lie and not enough to tell me. A stepfather who had cried at a cartoon and never once told me he was not the man who made me. And Wesley. Wesley with his palms flat on his knees, sitting across from me on a carpet that probably cost more than my rent. "Wesley." "Yes." "Why you?" He swallowed. His throat moved. The cedar in his scent had gone faintly bitter, the way scents do when an alpha is hurting in a way he is not allowed to show. "My father took me with him the night your father moved against your family. I was 19. He thought I was old enough. We got to your house too late for Jamie. We got there in time for you. I was the one who carried you out. I rode in the ambulance. I sat at that hospital window for 6 days because I was not family, and they would not let me in the room. On the 7th day, you saw me through the glass, and you put your hand up, and you asked me through the window if I was your brother. And you said. I said no, and then I said I would come back. And when I came back the next morning, your mother had taken you, signed you out under a different name, and disappeared. I have been looking for you since I was 20 years old, Eli. I am 35 now." I opened my eyes. He was not crying. Of course he was not. Men like Wesley Knox do not cry in penthouses on Tuesdays. But there was something on his face that was the cousin of crying, a kind of tightness around the mouth that did not loosen. I sat with that for a moment. I had spent the last 6 years of my life being told I was the dramatic one. Too sensitive. Too funny. Too much. I had spent the last 6 years of my life with a man who could not remember he was holding my house key, and here was a stranger who had been holding a piece of me for 15 years without asking me to thank him for it. I am not a soft person. I do not melt. I crack a joke and keep walking. But my eyes filled on that carpet, and one small, honest tear got loose before I could catch it, and Wesley, 3 feet away, did not move to wipe it for me. He did not reach. He did not reduce me to the moment. He just lifted his palm, slow, halfway between us, like he had outside the diner. An offering. I looked at his hand. I looked at his face. I leaned forward on my knees, and instead of taking his palm, I leaned my forehead against it. Just my forehead, just for a second. He went very still, the kind of still that costs an alpha effort. His scent changed under my skin, soft and clean and shaking at the edges, and his thumb did not move, and his fingers did not curl, and his hand stayed exactly where I had put my head against it, like he was afraid that any breath would scare me off. "Eli," he said low. "Don't talk," I said into his palm. "Just for a minute. Don't say a single thing. You owe me a minute." He didn't. He just stayed. The radiator ticked. The snow kept tapping. My forehead against his palm was warmer than anything I had felt all night, And somewhere inside my chest, a wall I had not known I was holding up gave a small, clean, dangerous lean. A minute passed, a minute and a half. I lifted my head. He pulled his hand back, slow, like a man returning a borrowed thing in better condition than he had found it. I sat back on my heels and wiped my face with the cuff of my coat and looked at him through wet lashes and said, with all the dignity of an Omega, who had just had the worst Tuesday of his adult life, "Wesley, yes, I am going to eat that very expensive sandwich now." The 16th of an inch smile did the bravest thing it had done all night. It became a quarter inch. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket, and the smile died on the spot. He pulled it out, glanced. His jaw did a thing I had not seen yet, a small, clean tightening, like a man closing a drawer. "I have to take this," he said. "Take it. I am going to negotiate with the kitchen." He stood up, coat still on. He walked across the room to the far window and turned his back to me, phone to his ear, voice low. I caught two words, already and then sharper, tonight. I stood up because my knees had finished their union meeting. I padded to the kitchen island in damp socks, opened the pantry, and discovered that rich people stock their pantries the way normal people stock anxiety. 6 kinds of crackers, 3 jars of olives, a wheel of cheese the size of my face, a baguette wrapped in linen, like the bread had a tailor. I pulled out the cheese, the bread, a butter knife, and a single grape, and I assembled the saddest, most expensive sandwich in the state of Colorado. Wesley was still on the phone. His shoulders had risen by a centimeter. Not quite tense, tense adjacent. I bit the sandwich. It was, against my will, fantastic. He hung up. He stood at the window for a long second without turning around. "Wesley?" "Yes." "Who was that?" "A beat. My security team." "And what does your security team need at, what is it, 11 at night?" He turned. His face was doing a thing. Polished, closed. The face I imagined he wore in boardrooms, the one that said, "I have already decided and you are about to find out." I did not love seeing it pointed even slightly in my direction. "Eli?" "Yes. Cameron Hale just checked into this hotel." I stopped chewing. "What?" "20 minutes ago. Lobby. He is asking for you by name. He says you left things at the house. He says he came to return them. He has the blonde Omega with him." I set the sandwich down on the marble island. I picked it back up. I put it back down. My hands had opinions and I did not have the bandwidth to mediate. "How?" I said. "How did he know I was here?" Wesley's face did not move. "That is what I am trying to figure out." "No, Wesley, sir. Mr. Knox. That is not a satisfactory answer. This is one of about 40 hotels in this city. I have been here for 20 minutes. I gave a fake floor key to a stranger I have known for 1 hour. There is no scenario where Cameron Hale, who could not remember he owned my house key, suddenly develops GPS abilities." "I know." "Then explain it." He hesitated. I watched the hesitation land. I felt it the way you feel a door closing in another room. "Wesley?" "Eli." "Did somebody on your team tell him?" "No." "Did you tell him?" His eyes flicked. Just a half second, not a flinch. A check, like a man double counting his own answer. "No. Wesley, I did not tell Cameron Hale that you were in this hotel." "Then who did?" "I am going to find out." That was not the question. "I am aware." I put both my hands flat on the island, and I closed my eyes, and I did the one thing I had been avoiding doing since I had walked into this room. I read the kitchen. The marble was cold under my palms. The vision came in fast and clean. Too clean, like somebody had wiped it for me. I saw the concierge from downstairs setting up a tray. I saw a maintenance worker checking the radiator yesterday. I saw a chef putting that wheel of cheese in the pantry 3 hours ago. And underneath it, faint. So faint I almost missed it. I saw Wesley, a version of Wesley from earlier today, standing in this kitchen with his phone in his hand. He was on a call. His voice was low, very low, like a man speaking into a hand. "I think I have him," he said. "I think tonight is the night. Hale's going to do it. He'll dump him in front of witnesses. Make it ugly. I'll be there to pick him up." I yanked my hands off the marble like it was on fire. The island was very quiet. The radiator ticked. The snow tapped the window. My sandwich sat between my hands looking like a small betrayed friend. Wesley was watching me. His face had gone very, very still. Eli. I did not look at him. Eli. You knew. He did not answer. You knew Cameron was going to dump me tonight. You set up the car. You set up the bench. You set up Ron and the gold lights and the elevator and the sandwich. You staged a rescue. Eli, listen to me. You staged a rescue. I did not stage what he did to you. I knew what kind of man he was. I have been watching him for 2 months. I knew he was building up to it. I knew if I was not nearby when it happened, you would disappear into the city and I would lose you again. So yes, I positioned myself. I sat in that car for 3 hours waiting. I waited because I was not willing to risk being 5 minutes too late again. Again! The word landed between us like a piece of broken glass. His face cracked. Just a little. Just enough. Like the hospital, I said. Like Jamie. He did not say anything. He did not have to. I picked up the sandwich. I set it down. I picked up the key card from where I had dropped it on the counter, and I held it tight enough that the plastic edge dug into my palm. Wesley. Yes. Get out. Eli. I asked you in the car. I asked you twice. I asked you 3 feet from a bench in a snowstorm. And every time you said no catch. No catch. I owe you something. You let me lean my forehead on your hand. You let me cry on your carpet. And you knew. You watched it happen. You let him hurt me on a porch so you could be the one in the car when it was over. I did not let him. You watched. To find you. Wesley. My voice cracked, and I hated it, and I kept going anyway. I do not need a man who watches me bleed to make sure he is the first one with a bandage. Get out. Get out of this room. Get out of this floor. Do not knock on this door. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He did the one merciful thing he could do, which was not to argue. He walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. He did not look back at me. I will be in the lobby, he said quietly. If you need me, I am 1 floor away. If you need me to leave the building, I will leave the building. Just say the word. The word is leave. He left. The door clicked. I stood at the marble island, alone, in damp socks, with a half-eaten sandwich in front of me and a city full of snow on the other side of the glass, and I let myself, for the first time all night, completely fall apart. It was not pretty. Falling apart never is. It was small, ugly hiccup sobs into the cuff of a coat that smelled like bus exhaust, and a man who used to call me grateful. It was sliding down the side of the kitchen island until my back hit the cabinets. It was wrapping my arms around my own knees on a cream carpet that had probably never seen a single ungraceful person in its life. I gave myself 5 minutes. I am not exaggerating. I checked the microwave clock. I sat there and let it move from 11:17 to 11:22, and at 11:22 on the dot, I wiped my face on my sleeve and said out loud to nobody, "Okay, that's the allotment. Pull yourself up, Park." I have been doing that since I was 12, apparently since longer than I knew. I stood up. My socks made a soft squelch noise that was, frankly, insulting. I walked to the bathroom. I peeled them off. I splashed cold water on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror, puffy and pink-eyed and 26 years old with a brother I never knew I had, and I said, "Eli, 2 men in this hotel want a piece of you tonight. One of them is a coward who came to gloat. The other one is a stranger with cedar in his coat who watched you get hurt to make sure he could find you. You do not get to lay on a carpet anymore. Pick a man to disappoint." I picked me. I went back into the suite. I opened the suitcase. The wheel had given up, but the inside was intact. I had 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, my charger, the one good sweater Cameron had not stretched out, and the small wooden box my mother had given me on my 18th birthday. I had never opened the box. She had said when she put it in my hands, "Open it the day you stop trusting easily." I had laughed at her at the time. I had told her I trusted everyone, and she had smiled with her whole mouth and not her eyes. I sat down on the edge of the bed. I held the box. I let my hand close around the lid. The vision came soft. Slower than the others, like the box had been waiting for me to be ready. My mother, younger, hair longer, hands shaking. Sitting at a kitchen table I did not recognize with the box open in front of her, putting something inside it, a folded piece of paper, a small chain with a charm, a photograph. She was crying. She looked up at the doorway. A man stood there. Not Daniel, not the mustache stepfather. A man with my jaw and my mouth and eyes that were colder than any face I had ever seen in any mirror. "If you ever tell him," the man said, "calm as a contract, I will come back for him." My mother did not say anything. She closed the box. I came back to myself on the edge of the hotel bed. The box was still in my lap. My hands were not shaking, which surprised me. Maybe I had used up all my shaking on the carpet. I opened the box. Inside, just like the vision, a folded piece of paper, a small silver chain with a tiny charm shaped like a paper crane. A photograph. The photograph was of two boys. One of them was me, maybe 7, missing a front tooth, grinning. The other one was smaller, 3, maybe 4. Same eyes as me, same dimple in the same cheek. On the back in my mother's handwriting, Eli and Jamie. Summer before. I held the photograph for a long time. I did not cry again. I had used my 5 minutes. I just looked at the small face I had been told for 26 years did not exist, and I felt the shape of him slide back into the empty place in my chest where he had always belonged. And I whispered, very quiet, like saying it any louder might scare him off. "Hi, Jamie." The paper crane charm sat warm in my palm. I unfolded the paper. It was an address. A storage unit, 4 hours west, in a town outside of Grand Junction. The number of the unit, a code. And below that, 2 lines in my mother's writing, smaller, like she had not wanted them to be too easy to find. "If you ever read this, I am sorry. Everything about that night is in this unit. The truth and the people who paid to keep it from you. Wesley Knox is not one of them. He is the only reason you are alive. Forgive him if you can. Forgive me if you cannot." I sat with that for a long, quiet minute. The penthouse was very still. Down 20 floors in a lobby with a piano nobody was playing, 2 men were waiting for me. One of them had said the word grateful with my key in his hand. The other one had sat in a car in the snow for 3 hours and let himself become the kind of man who manipulates a moment to save a life. Neither of them got to be my next chapter on their own terms. I tucked the paper crane into my pocket. I tucked the photograph into the inner zip of my coat against my chest. I put the address in my phone. I put my dry boots on, the ones I had packed because I am not a complete amateur. I left the suitcase. I took the key card. I left the room. I rode the elevator down to floor 19, not the lobby, because I am a sassy Omega with 1 functioning superpower and 0 interest in walking into an audience. I got out, walked the stairwell down to the service exit, pushed through into a back alley that smelled like cardboard and snow, and I called a cab from the corner with hands that were not steady but were mine. While I waited, I sent 2 text messages. The first was to a number I had never dialed but had memorized in the elevator on the way down. Off the back of Wesley's business card he had not given me, but that I had read off his coat pocket because I am, at all times, paying attention. "Mr. Knox, I am leaving the hotel. Do not follow. Do not call. Do not have Ron drive past. If I want to find you, I will find you. If I do not, you will have your answer." The second was to Cameron Hale. "Hi. Drop my key at the front desk. Tell the blonde I said hi. Do not contact me again. If you try, you will find out exactly what kind of Omega I actually am." The cab pulled up. I got in. I told the driver to head west. The city slid behind me in long white streaks, and somewhere 20 floors above the street, a billionaire alpha was reading a text he had not earned. And somewhere in a lobby, a coward was standing with my key in a hand he no longer had any right to. And I, for the first time in my life that I could remember, was driving toward my own truth instead of away from it. The storage unit took 4 hours. It took less time to ruin them than it did to drive there. I will skip the part where I cried in a gas station bathroom outside Glenwood Springs. I will skip the part where I stood in Unit 412 with a flashlight on my phone and my hand on a banker's box that gave me 9 years of my own life back in a single visionary blink. I will skip the part where I sat in the cab on the way back to Denver with a folder on my lap full of bank transfers, signed documents, a coroner's report with my brother's name on it, and a notarized affidavit my mother had filed under a false name in case she did not live long enough to give it to me herself. She had loved me. She had been a coward, and she had loved me. And those two things were going to live next to each other in my chest forever, in different rooms, never invited to the same dinner. That is not forgiveness, that is filing. I came back to Denver at sunrise. I did not go to the hotel. I went to the one place I knew Cameron Hale would be on a Wednesday morning at 9, because Cameron Hale did not change his routines for hurricanes, much less for ex-omegas. The Hale Pack Winter Brunch. Glass-walled restaurant on the 17th floor of his uncle's building. 100 guests, cream tablecloths, a small jazz trio, every important alpha and omega in our corner of the pack hierarchy, sipping mimosas, performing their marriages. I walked in still wearing the coat I had been dumped in. The room noticed. Heads turned in that slow, expensive way rich people have. The way a herd of deer turns when something has stepped on a twig. Cameron was at the head table with the blonde omega on his arm, mid-laugh, mid-toast, mid-life. He saw me. His face did the most interesting thing. It tried 4 expressions in 2 seconds and landed on none of them. Eli, he stood up. The blonde stood up. The whole table stood up. Eli, sweetheart, this is not the place. Cameron, I smiled at him. The good smile. The one that costs money. Sit down. He did not sit down. I walked to the head table. I picked up the small velvet box sitting beside his plate, the one he had clearly been about to use. Because Cameron Hale did not waste a brunch, I held it in my palm. The vision came clean. I tilted my head, like I was listening to something only I could hear. And then I said, loud enough for the jazz trio to lose their place. Cam, the ring you are about to give him. You bought it 8 months ago. You picked it out with him in the store on April 14th. You told the jeweler you needed its size for an omega named Marcus, not Eli. You paid for it on a card I am not on, from an account I did not know existed. You have been with him for 10 months, not 3 weeks. 10. Silence. The kind of silence that has weight. The kind that lands. Cameron's mouth opened. That's not Eli. That's not how that works. You can't just say, I haven't started, Cam. I set the ring box down. I picked up his glass. The crystal gave me the rest in a single fast wave. You took out a loan in my name in February to buy this ring. The blonde does not know that. Marcus, hi. He used your name to apply. The signature is forged. There's a copy in a safe deposit box at First Pioneer Bank, key in a coffee canister at his mother's house, 3rd shelf. Your father co-signed it. He thought it was for our wedding. Cameron's father, 2 tables over, set down his fork. I turned. I kept going. Calm, controlled, the tone of a man reading a grocery list. While we're here, the reason my mother lied to me for 14 years is because the man who killed my brother and tried to kill me is sitting at table 6. Hi, Daniel. Or should I say, hi, the man who took my stepfather's name 2 months after my real father went into hiding so he could keep watching me grow up under a different mustache. A glass shattered at table 6. The mustache man stood up. He did not run. He should have. I had been planning this drive for 4 hours, and he had been getting away with it for 14 years, and the math in the end was not on his side. Eli, his voice was very calm. Sweetheart, whatever you think you saw. I have the affidavit. My mother filed it the year she died. The coroner's report on Jamie Park. The bank transfers from your shell company to the doctor who wiped my memory. A photograph of you holding me in the hospital after you paid the nurse to let you in. Wesley Knox's father suspected you. You had him killed too. There is a folder. There are 6 copies. 3 are with my lawyer. 1 is with a journalist at the Denver Post who has been waiting for this story since 2011. 2 are with people you will never find. Murmurs ran through the room like water through a crack. Cameron's father slowly turned to look at Cameron. The blonde, Marcus, took 1 step away from him. A waiter dropped a tray. I did not raise my voice once. That was the part that mattered. I turned to Cameron. You called me grateful, I said. That was your mistake. I walked out. In the lobby, leaning against a column like he had been there for hours, was Wesley. Coat dry, eyes tired, hands at his sides, palms out. The way you stand when you are not asking for anything. Eli. Wesley? I can fix it. The press, the family, the man at table 6. I have lawyers in the car. I have a plane. I have. Wesley. Yes. You manipulated a heartbreak to find me. I understand why. I am not going to forgive you for it. Not today, not in a year. Maybe never. I came back to Denver to bury a brother I just met and to walk out of a room that owed me my own name. I did not come back for you. His mouth opened. Wesley. Yes. Thank you for the sandwich. I walked past him. I pushed through the lobby doors. The snow had started again. Light, soft, the kind that does not stick. I stood on the curb in the cold for 1 second and felt, for the first time in 26 years, the exact shape of my own life inside my own coat. This time I walked away because I chose to. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, you'll definitely love the next one. It's even crazier and more intriguing than you can imagine. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. The next story drops soon.